Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief Recap. I'm trying to wind these down here a little bit, get them back under 15, 20 minutes. Things are getting a little out of control there, half-hour videos, but we'll try our best as well. I got a class that I have to head off and teach here shortly. Under 15, so I don't want to spend too much time here today, but nonetheless, looks like YouTube is running. So things are getting good to see. So let's get to work. Dashboard right now, we're still integrating the new data preventer, so got blank right now, developer cycle, rah. I put together a nice little chart deck for you. Of course, we had a great daily brief today talking about, I had actually strapped on a stock, the Love Sack. I was feeling all excited, and then boom, I got politely told, get the fuck out. Excuse me, YouTube, but nonetheless, that's the market swearing at you right there, so I had to take a punch in the nose this morning. You can see that I defined the amount of risk that I had on the trade and basically have to walk away. We'll talk a little bit more about stock market, but that's kind of the morning that I've been having. And the good part about it, hopefully, through the daily brief, is I just demonstrated, look, here's where a trade doesn't work. What do you got to do? How do you have to act? That kind of stuff. All right, so overview of the market, kind of like what I'm seeing out of things like Lovesac here this morning. But it's interesting. There are other names that are bucking the overall trend. So we do have new long ideas. And we had our TRI secret options formula meeting yesterday. Came out with a bunch of ideas, like pot stocks are starting to look interesting again. I've been talking to you guys about energy and natural gas. Put tweets out to the effect of natural gas's effect on interest rates coming out of that meeting. That was a really good commentary. And as I sort of said there a moment ago, interesting. There's SCOR putting in weekly W's. Pod stocks trying to break out. We've got an alert set to see whether W's come in there on pod stocks. So lots of stuff hopping around. But I'll definitely preface this conversation today with this kind of idea that I'm feeling like risk on has maybe just gone a little bit too far and maybe getting tired. Doesn't necessarily mean there's outright sell signals. Run for the hills. It just feels like, holy geez, we've come an awful long way. On things like S&Ps, we're right up against megaphone tops here. Fib levels, 113, 127s, and we're just kind of floundering here. And you can see, just off the daily basis, our overbought, oversold indicator is ridiculously overbought. So, I sort of counseled the gang here today. It feels like risk on has gotten a little bit ahead of itself. We actually had a very, very large build in oil inventories reported today. Wednesday's usually EIA day. So you can see the oil's pulling back. Bitcoin, we went through a bunch of sort of like momentum studies through the daily brief today. Over the short term, as stocks are pausing and oil is sort of cleaning itself up, not a big surprise to see lower time frame charts are all on pause on Bitcoin. Have we actually M'd out and broken down here? No, not yet. But at the same time, too, and this is kind of the other side of the equation, the risk off bets. Japanese yen just got absolutely bitch slapped yesterday. We talked lots about the gold got thumped. Bonds came off as well and actually made to new lows. But even as you can see, like I usually put these words right over the markets as soon as I wake up in the morning. So you can see we've even moved a bit higher again since I last updated this. And interesting to see Bitcoin's backed off a little bit more. And on the big oil inventory number, oil's coming off here a chunk. So the bottom line here is it looks to me like today is a very much sort of risk off kind of day. And we are seeing that in a lot of stocks. And we're seeing the dead cat bounce and a rebound, if you will, in risk off assets. Don't really have any interest on the long side out of the bonds. Like we said, we made new lows yesterday from here. gapped higher, but I've talked to you guys about this recently. Just tons of gaps all over the place here, so this could use some cleaning up. Might have a harami bar actually printed on the Japanese yen, which I think probably would be perfect for the Japanese. They'll probably get really excited about this. And this is in essence a little sort of mini megaphone here now. So from here to here to here, and then here to here, we should actually, believe it or not, come up and trade up in this area here if this is a megaphone. So there is that on the table, but I don't know whether I'd really feel comfortable about a long trade there. And then I noticed with the gold, which was really interesting about gold, is, I'm worried as stink. Over the longer term, there's just a ton of risk in here. This is a very, very risky market. But nonetheless, the traders in the community, all that kind of talk, we did bang down. We filled in this gap which we talked about recently. We've hit just a whole bunch of lows. Bang, 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 bang. And I think you could make the argument that the market just simply ran into all of these levels where somebody stopped the bear before and started to buy. And if anything, at this level, people probably looked at it, because remember when I did the video, the market was sitting down here. It didn't really move at all after that. And probably sellers were like, I don't want to sell here. Gee whiz. And the whole market just sort of stopped. Gold bugs take some heart. Again, Japanese yen, we see that is technically harami. And also, too, notice it's right at this key trend line. So if we can finish out today, beep, open up tomorrow, tick up through that 1495.90 area, then I think the gold's got a good shot to take a jump back up top. And, of course, I don't necessarily have quote-unquote buy signals. If I look at things like the stocks, you can see Barrick is still just all over the place, gapping right, left, and center. Doesn't even really know what to do here. Gold stocks themselves, good to see that, they're coming up and they're filling in this island gap here. Not really buy signals here for a guy like me. If anything, when I'm looking at the gold, I kind of think I see, okay, well, maybe like a futures trade, guys who are working at like prop firms and stuff trading this up into the top end of the range again. We'll see. Only time will tell. If your gold bugs are really lucky, this wide trading range, notice that was Julian's level. They knocked it down a couple times. If we can accept back above up in here, then we actually might have a base to work with for you gold bugs and silver bugs going forward. So we'll see how it goes. Only time will tell. And, what might find happen, especially if this harami bar fires, is I might actually start drawing bullish bots and start watching 25 levels. And, there might actually be a long trade that sets up. But just please keep in mind, this is, by nature, a very risky market. Just looking at all this exploration here. This is risky. So, I got to see a bunch of lows here for me to even think about taking the shot. And it's kind of like Bitcoin, same thing. I could see traders coming in and saying, that's a relatively small risk window. I might go and strap some on here, and if we lose these lows, I'm gone. That's basically the same thing as the Bitcoin trade right now. So that's sort of risk on, risk off. Not really buy signals per se here today, but, constructive. So that's good to see. And then conversely on the stock market, not really sell signals, but could we see a failure up here? Would it make sense up against the top end of this channel? I think so. And, just even short-term support's going to be down here below 300, or basically about a good, 10-point drop here. That wouldn't surprise me at all on the S&Ps. All right, so that's sort of your risk on, risk off kind of conversation. It feels like the tide is slightly changing. We talked a little bit about getting kicked in the love sack. Shit happens. Trader's life. Interesting. I had brought this idea to even the public's attention when we were going through the process of double bottoming here about a month or so ago. Double bottom never came in. So there just never was a trade that happened. And now you see, boom, we popped up through this candle's high, which was 398. That basically confirms about 2 or 3 W's in here. So what a surprise, Brian's on the buy side. And you might even argue, I just rolled out of one asset and into the other. And of course, if I can, get better than 2-to-1 risk rewards, even taking these small losses, you actually end up being profitable, even if you're only 50% accurate. So, it's trader's life. Next bus in 10 minutes. But I just wanted to illustrate to people, I don't think I see this enough. And actually, I used to work at a prop firm, and one of the sort of senior guys there, whenever somebody would come on the call in the morning, he would, and we'd have special guests, and they would tout how wonderful they are and how wonderful their system is. And this guy would always start off the conversation with, look, I don't want to know how great your system is. Show me a losing trade. What did it look like? How did you act? So here's a really good example. What does a losing trade look like for Brian? Well, we lost this low 1507. I got to get the hell out of there. Simple as that. So go figure. Heading on over to crypto, sort of our talk about risk on, risk off. Kind of feeling, I am going to, I did take a long shot off of this cute little W that you can see on the daily Coinbase chart and the bullish resolution of this doji bar. You notice that yesterday's action paints an inside bar here. And if we lose those lows, my hunch is we're going to test Brian's resolve in earnest. So interesting risk conversation. Basically, my cost is here, and I'm risking to here on Bitcoin. That's the trade. And of course, if I'm right, A, B, very sloppy, but nonetheless, just quick illustration. If I'm right, and frankly speaking, I have no idea whether this is going to work or not. Nobody does. But if I'm right and I can hold in till my profit objective, then this is what I'm looking to get paid. So if you can force yourself to take these kind of trades where that's your risk window and this is your potential profit window, man, you'll do really, really well. And you don't even have to be right half the time to make money with those kind of risk windows. But we'll see what happens. Over the short term, as I sort of said, you can see potential like fractal tops on S&Ps. Oil had a really, really big inventory build. We might be getting inside bars on things like yen and bonds. Yen and gold. Bonds have gapped higher. Might be interesting to look at the futures charts. So it wouldn't shock me one bit if this trade setup fails. It wouldn't shock me. It's just, love sack. Just next bus in 10 minutes. Got to live by the sword, die by the sword. If you're right, get paid. If you're wrong, limit your risk. We were sort of talking, and I think I put out tweets to this effect, that I'm kind of seeing right now, especially on our short-term momentum model using RSI. The bear stopped this little bull run here with this M, using RSI as an example. And then another M, especially through the 50 line, basically says that the bear now is in control and they're driving the bus. And I don't think this ends until we actually start Wing out. And what's concerning about this is you can see this really big M that could potentially be coming in here, which is just sort of further solidifying the bear cause. So, for site members this morning, I sort of painted what are some scenarios that I'm thinking about. And really, if it's a light correction, we hold this reload zone. If we start getting a little bit more serious and start making market structure failures, then I think the midpoint of the megaphone is a pretty good reload zone level to look for against all these lows. If we do actually break through this low, then that triggers a big AB equals CD harmonic, which is painting this low, or in essence, heading right back into this tail. Wicks and tails like to be eaten. And then finally, if all hell breaks loose, and we just simply melt down here, the bottom of this megaphone is actually down here at about 87, 8,800. So, if that's the scenario, then my whole thesis to try and get long on an anticipation of a bot disappears. So, as I sort of showed you, like the ball sack, you take your shots. And if your setups fail, you just have to act. So if we break through this 8,900 area on the exchange that I'm trading on, then you know that Brian's walked away. So that's sort of the tone of what I see out of the market this morning. Not a hell of a lot to get excited about here. And what I've simply suggested, and you can do this too, just throw on a 14 period RSI. It's like the default RSI. This happens to be an hourly chart, but you'll know that this carnage in the short term is done when you start seeing W's come in on this thing. And as you can see, there are no W's right now. Finish off today's broadcast. I don't know why it is, but nonetheless, it is what it is. There's a gentleman, I think his name is Chico Crypto or something like that. He does fun videos. I really like his approach. It's extremely matter of fact. He knows his data. I'm sure he writes the scripts ahead of time. I mean, he talks a lot and throws a lot of really, valuable information at you. So, it's interesting that he put out one here recently, my number one altcoin hodl. And the irony of it all is I've loved this coin here forever. He does a nice summary of the fundamentals, which is what I like because I'm not a crypto fundamental guy. And he goes through, and a lot of people on the site, site members and stuff, they really, they're the good sort of fundamental crypto people. And that's what I need out of this community is what are the stories? Why are you excited? Yada, yada, yada. I've loved this name from last cycle, and we banged out a ton of doubles on this thing. It's such a treat. But I thought this was also a really good analogy. I've told people in this space that I totally figured that I mean, I didn't call the top. I'm not going to say that. But no doubt about it, through that 2017 cycle apex, it was very, very fluffy. I tried to convince people like if you are going to buy crypto, nanny nibbles, little old lady kind of stuff. I mean, anybody who just threw their fucking life fortunes at these kind of names through this, they're destroyed. They're gone. At the very least, nanny nibbles kind of idea. Ironically, on a name like this, you can even see if you had bought anywhere through the end of 2017, that's December 2017 right there. So the irony of it all is this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, basically 8 weeks, 2-month window. If you had bought this asset any other time other than that 8-week window, ironically enough, you're basically sitting at scratch right now. I mean, maybe you chased and you bought up here. But this is what I think is a good example of something like an Amazon. Amazon started out at nothing. It went to absolute moon levels through the dot-com peak, came right back down to the bottom, and then put in its big weekly W's. And like I said, you listen to this guy's interview. They're in partnership with Intel. There's some things happening with this coin, so it's not an accident. And what's really cool about this coin is this is not only a weekly W, this is a monthly W. So, I can feel the seed shift changing. The tides of change are changing. So it's an encouraging sign. Now, does that mean that you go and chase this name up here? Well, nah. What do you think Brian's going to say? Probably not. I mean, remember, I got a whole bunch of this on the books anyway. But, if I was trying to sneak my way in here, I might do things like reload zones. And notice there's the original double bottom off the daily chart. There's a big old tail that needs to be eaten. So, there's your shopping window. About 30 cents. And, of course, if this thing keeps moving higher, you're just going to have to drag your reload zone to a higher. And a good example of that recently, I don't know whether we talked about it in the daily brief or not, but Decred, somebody was super excited about Decred recently, and I said, okay, well, if you want to be a buyer, just draw your reload zones and just be nice and patient, and you can see how that's basically playing out. So, interestingly enough, Decred's actually starting to work its way back down to the bottom. So, a couple names for you to think about. One that I think fundamentally looks totally awesome. You can't really buy it right now, though. And then one that we have talked about recently and how we should think about reload zones, and you can see how it's slowly working its way back down. And then one that has already done it is something like a Doge, which we talked about recently with you guys. Try not to chase. Things zipped up here. If I want to be a buyer, you can see how it politely backed its way right back into a reload zone here. So Some ideas for you to chew on. Hope you enjoyed that. I have no idea how long I was. I'm sure I was way over time anyway. But lots of fun going on in the market. Great example. Brian gets punched in the nose by the market, but I just keep coming back. Identify your risk window, keep it nice and small, rinse and repeat. And when I am right, of course, I want to get paid. Okay, have yourselves a great day, everybody. All the best, and bye for now.